6 months since my last video, so I thought I'd put out a quick update on the progress that's been made since then. Not been a whole lot, but there has been a little. Had some issues with my house, plumbing issues that I had to address that took my time away from the car project and all, but I've been getting out here as I could, just doing a little bit at a time, and for that reason I've not been filming what I've been working on, because I'm like with the torque boxes, for example, I'm cutting, test fitting, trimming, maybe adding some material, test fitting some more, and I'll do that same process multiple nights in just pieces at a time. So it wasn't like when I started documenting this, I thought, I would film sections as a project, such as the cowl replacement, but then I quickly realized when you remove a cowl, then you find out, you also need a cowl side support. You have to patch your firewall. There's just a kind of a Pandora's box that happens. So it's very hard to do like little parts, like a video on replacing just one piece, which is what I had envisioned. But I never really wanted this to be a how-to kind of thing. Like for how-to videos, there's one place you should visit first before any others, and that is the Joe Daddy's Garage YouTube channel. He is a former aircraft sheet metal mechanic. He owned his own body shop for a while. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and the videos that he's put out there are just extremely helpful, extremely detailed, way better than anything I could ever do. So I'm not even going to try. Again, these videos, the reason I'm making these videos is to document and have something kind of like to look back on decades from now when I'm cruising in the car, just to kind of relive this whole process. But that's that. I'm going to leave a link to Joe Daddy's in the description. Feel free to hop over there if you're looking for more how-to type stuff. Now, for an update of everything I've worked on, like I said, it's been 6 months since my last video. I did pick up a MIG welder on the Black Friday sales, so that kind of got me started there. The first project I tackled was fixing the radio panel in the dash, because one of the previous owners at some point cut out the radio hole in the dash to fit a regular DIN size radio, and I'd like to keep a more original looking radio in the car when I finally finish it. So Dynacorn sells these patch panels to go back to the original style. So my first ever MIG welding was on that, and I was a bit surprised at how difficult that was, because the dash, I don't know if it's original, but it's really old and a bit crusty in areas. So welding new metal to old rusty metal, turns out, is extremely difficult. It burns through real easy and just eats up that old material. New metal welds amazingly. When you do two pieces of new metal together, it's just a tremendous difference from welding new metal to old metal. So my first project was that. What I did was I just took the patch panel, and I, following Joe Daddy's video on how to do that, I cut out a larger hole in the dash than what was in there at the time, and I used the outline of that on the patch panel to trim it down, and then welded it in place. I put a lot of heat into it, so it's still really wavy, and I plan on going back and putting some body filler on there to smooth it over, and it's still not going to look great. by any means. It's not going to look professionally done like original. Like, you're going to look at that and you're going to see some of the waves, and you're going to see where maybe I didn't preserve the body line perfectly. And, I figured that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. After I did the radio patch panel, I was a little more comfortable with my MIG welding. I moved on to this cowl side support, and rather than trying to cut it out from the A pillar, which I'm not replacing, that's going to be there in the final product untouched. So I just came in and I found where it was solid and straight, and I cut straight down this panel, just a straight line down and up to about right here, and then just did a whole lot of MIG tacks to get it one solid piece. Still left some kind of boogers on the backside, but this is going to be not visible when the car is all back together, so it's good enough for me and for this project, which is going to be it's going to be a driver, not a show car anyways. And pretty happy with how that came out, actually. So after that, I was extremely nervous about doing this firewall patch, because this section, if you recall, was all banged in, and this was all crusty and rusty, and there was just no salvaging it pretty much from here over. But fortunately, there are companies out there that make patch panels, and this one wasn't great by any means. You could tell it's not the same quality as like Dynacorn and some of the other big names, but it did the trick. What I did was I've got a sheet metal tool that will sort of not emboss, but just adds a ledge, pushes up a ledge to metal, and I went down and basically made it to where the two pieces would kind of sandwich together, and then on that overlap space I drilled a bunch of holes in the patch and just did some plug welds to get it solidly together, and then I came back and did the stitch welds at the overlap to get that all solid. Again, not perfect, but actually came out great as far as what I was expecting. I was really pleasantly surprised with the way that turned out. Here also I'm going to use a little bit of body filler to make it look a little better. And then the next step is to put this inner firewall piece, not firewall, but put this guy back in. It obviously does not contour to my patch because my patch wasn't great to begin with, coupled with my skills, but I've got a solid space to weld up there. So I've got a spare one of these from Kentucky Mustang, and I'm just gonna cut along here, take the new one and fit it up, and then kind of merge the two pieces together and make it hopefully fit up much closer than it is now. That's a humongous gap. So that's one of the next projects. Once I got the firewall patch in, I moved on to the torque boxes. And this is a 65 hardtop, so it did not come from the factory with torque boxes. Only the convertibles would have had them. So getting this to fit where it had never had one in the past proved to be a little bit of a challenge, but it's in there nicely now. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I did move on to the passenger side or driver's side torque box. I've got it in as well. The next step, before I put the cowl in, I want to go ahead and put in like sound deadening material, like Dynamat type stuff on the inside here after I treat the rust or get rid of the rust, and then maybe epoxy prime down to prevent it from rusting later. I want to do all that while I've got this level of access to this space that I'm never going to have again once that cowl goes back in there. So that's next on the books, along with, again, this piece that's missing over here. And then I'm going to do subframe connectors. I've got some Tin Man subframe connectors to go in. They look relatively easy to install. So these may be next as well.